me.
That was Hayden only months ago. Happy, healthy, right here with me at Extra to talk about her.
2 weeks before Hayden Panettiere died, she filmed something she never got. To explain, days later it aired anyway without her, but that wasn't the strangest part. Months earlier in a movie nobody thought twice about, she'd already predicted exactly how her story would end. So here's the question. What do you actually know about her? If you grew up watching TV, you know. The face Claire on Heroes, the cheerleader who couldn't die Juliet on Nashville, Kirby in the Scream movies, but almost nobody knows where her story actually starts. Hayden Panettiere was on camera before she could walk. Her first commercial came at 11 months old. By the time most kids start kindergarten, she already had 2 soap opera roles. And here's the detail that catches people off guard: that tiny ant voice in Pixar's A Bug's Life, that was her too. She was famous before she understood what fame even meant. By her teens, she was a full-blown Hollywood it girl. 2 Golden Globe nominations, global face of a skincare giant for nearly 10 years. For 30 straight years, she was never not famous. So ask yourself, what does 30 years in front of a camera actually cost someone? Because behind the magazine covers, her life was quietly falling apart, and by 2026, she was fighting to put it back together in the most public way possible. To understand what she left behind, you have to know what she'd survived. For years, Hayden battled addiction, alcohol, and pills. She'd been in and out of rehab. She'd lost custody of her only child. Then, in 2023, came the worst blow of all. Her little brother Jansen died suddenly. He was only 28, an undiagnosed heart condition. Just 3 weeks before her big comeback film premiered, she said losing him felt like losing half of herself. On the 2-year anniversary, she wrote that the pain wasn't even quantifiable. So in 2026, she did something braver than any role she'd ever played. She started telling the truth, all of it out loud, and she did it 3 separate times, each one bigger than the last. Keep that number in your head, 3, because by the end it's the only thing that matters. The first was a book. This past May, Hayden released her memoir, This Is Me, a reckoning 320 pages, and she held almost nothing back. She wrote about being raised as a child star, molded into a product. Before she could object, in her own words, she felt groomed like a little soldier. She wrote about the pressure, the tabloids, the pieces of herself she kept having to rebuild. She even had a name for the moments that broke her. She called them lifequakes. She wrote about the addiction, the postpartum depression, surviving an abusive relationship, and the hardest one of all, giving up her daughter because she was drowning and knew it. Then came the revelation that stopped readers cold. She wrote that at 18, a friend led her into a room with a naked famous male actor. She was told to get in bed with him. She never named him, but after all these years, she finally said it on her terms. She admitted the whole book terrified her. She kept asking if she was being too honest. She did it anyway. But the second thing she left behind is where it gets eerie. In January, Hayden starred in a psychological thriller called Sleepwalker. It hit theaters on January 9th. It would become her final finished film. Now listen to the plot. She plays a grieving mother named Sarah, an artist. After a devastating tragedy, Sarah starts losing her grip on what's real, visions sleepwalking, a mind coming apart at the seams. For almost the entire movie, she plays a woman haunted by loss. One of her co-stars later admitted she'd been struggling during filming. The reviews were mixed, but almost everyone singled out her performance. She spent that whole film playing someone, unraveling long before anyone knew how her own story would end. And yet, neither of those was the project that would truly break people's hearts. That one she filmed just 2 weeks before she died. We'll get to it, but first, you need to know what happened on August 16th. On Sunday, August 16th, 2026, everything stopped that afternoon. A friend called 911 from an apartment in Greenville, South Carolina. The call reported a woman unresponsive in cardiac arrest. Paramedics arrived within minutes. They fought to save her. For over half an hour, it wasn't enough. Hayden Panettiere was pronounced dead just after 2:30 that afternoon. She was 36. She would have turned 37 that same Friday, days from a birthday in the middle of the comeback. She'd fought so hard for it's the kind of timing that just doesn't feel real. Now, this is where the internet ran wild, so let's be careful. The county coroner completed an autopsy. It found no signs of trauma. Police said there were no signs of foul play and nothing suspicious. Yes. Dispatch audio from the scene mentioned a possible overdose, but that is not an official cause. Toxicology is still pending, so anyone claiming to Know exactly how she died right now is guessing, and that brings us back to her final project. Remember that message she filmed 2 weeks before? The End It was a campaign for PETA. Hayden had fought for animals her entire life, so she filmed a plea against keeping dolphins and orcas locked in tanks. In it, she lies in a bathtub, her hair spilling over the side. The message is simple: imagine your whole life trapped in a space that small. They released it on August 18th, 2 days after she died. PETA called it one of the last acts of her life. A woman who had felt trapped for so long, using her final performance to speak for the trapped. It is almost impossible to watch now. The tributes came within hours. Her scream. Castmates led the way. David Arquette wrote simply, "I love you, Hayden." Melissa Barrera wrote, "Rest in peace, sweet Hayden." Emma Roberts called her a sweet friend she'd love forever. Selma Blair left 3 words on her final photo: "I love you." Kelly Osbourne said she'd lost someone who understood what growing up in the spotlight really costs. Her father, Skip, called her an incredible light and a force of nature. He asked for privacy and called it an unimaginable loss. And her ex-boxing champion, Wladimir Klitschko, broke his silence. They share an 11-year-old daughter, Kaya, who lives with him in Ukraine. He said she left this world far too soon and promised to keep her memory alive for their little girl. Then fans noticed something quiet and devastating. Her last Instagram post went up on July 27th. A black and white photo with a friend, the caption, "Good times and good friends." 3 weeks later, she was gone, and in the days after her death, her memoir shot straight back to #1. So, what did Hayden Panettiere actually leave behind? Not a scandal, not a mystery, a book that finally told her truth, a film that now plays like a premonition, and a last message asking us to show mercy to the caged A's for how she died. That answer is still coming. Toxicology could take weeks, but the 3 things she made in her final year are already out in the world, and they are not going anywhere. If this story stayed with you, watch our full breakdown of Sleepwalker next, because once you know how her life ended, that movie hits completely differently. And if you want stories told like this, deeply researched, full context, and none of the cheap guessing, subscribe. We do 1. Every week, Hayden spent her final year fighting to be understood. The least we can do is remember her the way she asked to be seen. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves out there.